So I'm loading up this side right here because the plastic was kind of like that. And then there's detail here, and you can see that there's like a crack in the middle of here. So on the detail, I just kind of go in and I push as hard as I can, get it into the crack, but make sure that I can still see that detail good enough that when I go back into sanding, I don't mess up with that detail. But here I'm just loading it on thick. It doesn't even matter. I'm not trying to smooth it out or anything. I'm just trying to put a whole bunch of Bondo. The plastic pieces meet right here, and you can see just how much Bondo is on this side. And I probably will put more on here. I'm just kind of trying to spread it out a bit so it gets all. Yeah, I'll have to put another little bit on there. And I gotta put some Bondo in there, all along here, and then that. But I'm gonna do this same process. I'm just gonna do that off camera. So now I'm coming in with an 80 grit sandpaper, and you can see that I'm smoothing it down to the plastic, so you can still see some of the gray of the filler primer, but for the most part I've got a good line, a good eye for where I need to be on this part here. I'm just kind of following that, and the way that I get a good curve is I just bend. Well, this is kind of worked out a little bit, but you just bend it and you just kind of keep it in the curve around it till you get the nice formulated curve. Same thing with, I mean, these have tons of curves in it, so right here I'm going to keep it like this all the way around with a nice circular curve in my thing, and along this bottom part as well. But I'm basically just getting it back down to the plastic and even across, and then after that I'm going to switch sandpapers to about 180 grit. And the PLA is sandable, so I'm getting down to the plastic, and then once I switch the sandpaper and I start just going over everything and just getting it smooth, not so rough but just smooth, that other sandpaper will get it to a nice smooth finish, that we can put another layer of filler primer on it, and then we sand that down with an even lighter sandpaper, and then you can start doing the basic painting. And you can see just how good that curve is all the way around it. Found the line, and if you remember right, it was this side was completely jacked up, and you can see just how that curve is. It looks really good now because I just loaded that up about the same as here. You can see how loaded all this up. You can see how loaded all this is with Bondo. Just tons of it down here. It's the exact same thing that I did up here, and you just take your time. Go in a circular motion for the most part. Try for the most part to keep in a circular motion. I mean, there's parts where you can see ridges, and it's faster if you go side to side and heavy to get that ridge down. But once you get the ridge down to a certain point, then you need to start going in a circular motion, and it keeps everything basically even if you're not using a flat edge. So right now I'm just using 180, but I'm not trying to hit just the spots with Bondo. I'm actually trying to hit all over the place because you might as well kill two birds with one stone. And so, since I did do a layer of primer filler on here first, some of that primer filler is going to fill in on some of these 3D printed lines. So basically what I'm doing with this is I'm not only smoothing the Bondo so I can see any mistakes that, because 80 grit put some pretty big scratches and stuff in it. Just do that one little bit of Bondo first, and I'll scoop out quite a bit here. I'm gonna just do all this with my finger, because we're only getting like 1 or 2 spots. Doesn't really matter. Probably should do less today, just because I don't know how much of this we're going to capture. So let's see what we can do. I just want to see how big these main lines are. See how much work I'm going to actually have to do to it. It kind of just gives me like an idea where I need to be. See how much work I'm going to have to do and be able to plan for it. So I've got this paint primer here. I'm not gonna waste filler primer because it is quite expensive. And I'm still in that state where I'm just trying to get a uniform color so I can make sure that all my bondoing is good. And then once I start actually putting primer on, you know, before painting, and we'll go back to the filler primer and polish everything up. But this will be fine just for a uniform. And I actually like the metallic. Because when you sand it down, you can really tell where you've sanded because it's shiny, and then when you sand it, it turns like a dull color. Plus the shine helps a ton to point out any imperfections. Like you can see the shine in that. how imperfect that is. So I used to use, some of you guys that have been watching for a while know that I used to use golds and brilliant silver instead of filler primer first, because it really showed your imperfections. It was a lot of help. So when you're starting out, you can always do that. Golds, and there's a really cheap paint at Walmart called Brilliant Silver that is really good for that. So I'm not worried about any of these scratches because that's just sandpaper. It's just the bigger stuff. Because I'm actually going to go right back to this with a like a 320 sandpaper and really smooth all this out. So I'm not worried about any of the scratches, just the big gouges, the big stuff like that line there. There we go. To be honest with you, as I'm spraying this, I'm finding out that all the spots on here that need to be fixed can be fixed with a light sandpaper. So I think when this dries, we're going to light sandpaper this down, and we're going to start with the filler primer. Alright, should be dry. I'm going to take this 180. Right? Yeah, let's take the 180. Yeah. And we're just going to wet sand this real easy. I just got a cup with a little bit of water and dish soap in it. And this 3M sandpaper right here is perfect. Really good for wet sanding. Doesn't fall apart like a lot of wood sandpapers do. Okay, you're about to see why I love putting silver on. It really makes your lines stand out. See how it turns gray? You see, it's showing me that there's a line right there. And I can either sand down to and make it gone, but if I left it, then when I put the white paint over the top, you would still see a line here, because that's an indentation. So I can work at that for a while. It's almost like putting that spackle stuff on, like spackling another color on, and sanding until all of that's gone. You can just use silver, and because it's shiny, where you haven't sanded, like there, because that's an indentation. So your sandpaper's not getting to it. So you just kind of go over it and over it and over it until you get it down to the right area. I should probably be using a little bit higher grit, but right. Alright, well, we've gotten to the point where we can start the regular primer, but I don't have much left of either of my primers, so I'm just going to put on what I can tonight on the places that really need it. I have like these big lines where I didn't really put much on, and just kind of lay it on thick. In fact, this one will probably take all of my filler primer. You can really see from this side just how good we got it. And almost all of this will be sanded off because it'll go through. I'll go get another couple of these cans of filler primer. And this face mask will probably get, from experience, I'll probably say one more coat. And we can start the main painting. Well, I'm just gonna go and use the rest of this paint, really lay it on thick, because the mask is what needs it more than anything. There's some spots on this mask I don't like too much. Got any spot left, like under here, in here.